1 of Joshua. All right. Moshe has handed over the reins to Joshua. The Lord, Father, Yahweh, has ordained him to lead the people of Israel. And last week, the theme was, be strong and of good courage. Be strong and of good courage. Be strong and of good courage. We heard that, read that 3 times. Verse 9 is what we finished with last week in Joshua chapter 1. Have I not commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for Yahweh thy Elohim is with thee wheresoever thou goest. That's a good thing to take heart in. That's a good thing to, and not embolden. What's the word for to take on courage? To be encouraged? Well, that's kind of it. To be encouraged by that the Lord is with you. So that's good. So then, after that, as a prelude, if you will, verse 10. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, right there. Let's look at that. Joshua commands the officers of the people. Joshua is in charge. He realizes he's in charge. He's taken on the mantle of authority for all of Israel in this grand journey that they're on, this adventure that they're on. And so he commands because he's in charge. He's not asking. He's commanding who? Who does he command? The people, right? All of Israel. Up until now, and actually it says the officers of the people. Up until now, Moses was in charge. And if you remember in the beginning, when Moses was trying to run Israel, if you will, to put it in those terms, he was getting overwhelmed, right? And then Jethro, his father-in-law, hangs out with Moshe one day and watches him trying to deal with all these people. And he said, Moses, what you're doing, the way you're doing it, is not good. All right, what you need to do, Moshe, is set up captains of thousands, captains of hundreds, captains of 50s, of 10s. Set them up, let them handle things at their level, and you just take care of the big stuff, the overarching stuff. And so he did that. He listened to his father, and so there was a hierarchy and there was an order to Israel. I mean, how else are you going to, there were 600,000 men that came out of Mitzrayim, came out of Egypt, and so plus women, plus children, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. That's a lot of people for one guy to be having to deal with all the problems. To us, it just kind of makes sense, but in this day, for him, it was kind of new. So now, what we have is Joshua, he's not commanding the people of Israel, he's commanding the officers of Israel. He's telling them, well, we're going to see what he's telling them, but he addresses them and says, here's the word, here's what you guys need to pass down. Commanded the officers of the people, saying, verse 11, pass through the host. I'm going to stop right there. Scriptures has a different word. What's it say?
Midst.
The midst?
Yep.
Midst of?
Yeah.
The camp. So pass through the host, pass through the midst of the camp. Host means what? It's Old King James English. It means army. So in King James we read, Joshua's telling the officers, pass through the host, pass through the army. And in the scriptures we read, pass through the midst of the camp, right? So that got me thinking. It got me looking up the Hebrew word there. Mahene is the word that's translated host here, and in the scriptures it's translated camp. Mahene. And what Mahene means is an encampment of travelers or troops, also an army. Because when you're moving as a traveling group of people like that, and it applies mostly to troops, then it is an army. So it's the same thing. Now think about this. Israel, I'm talking about the whole greater tribes of Israel, former slaves of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, right? So they're at the bottom of whatever totem pole there is there. Now they're an army. From slave to army, with officers and hierarchy and all that stuff, and they are encamped on the east side of the Jordan River looking into the promised land. That's a lot of changes in 40 years, from being the beaten upon slaves to we're an army getting ready to cross this river, go forth and conquer. From slaves to we're getting ready to go. They're getting ready to conquer land given to them previously by Yah. So he gave them this land, but they still have to go conquer it. I mean, there's a lesson there, right? A lot of people today want everything for free, and they want it easy, and they want it, just, if it's your will, Father, this roast duck will fall out of the sky into my mouth, and I won't be hungry anymore. It's like, come on, this is not biblical perspective. They have to go conquer this land as an army. This right here is the first Exodus. There's another Exodus coming that it's referred to as the second Exodus or the greater Exodus that's going to make us forget all about this Exodus. So great is it going to be in scope. That's another sermon for another time, but this is a type of, if you will, of the one that's coming. The Father, Yah, he's already gathering his people, I submit, for the advance of the second Exodus. He's gathering his people into Mahene, into camps, into armies, if you want to look at it that way. But right now I say camps. He's gathering them into camps. And these camps that the Father is gathering his people into, and we have a few, they have leaders. It's the way of things. It's how the Father wants things. So information and direction can go that way. And so here Joshua is giving orders to his officers, and he tells them, and this is kind of cool too to me, from a military perspective. Has anybody other than Sam been in the military? So there's this thing in the military called a warning order. And a warning order is what you put out, you guys didn't raise your hand, is what you put out when you have an operation coming. It's like your boss just told you you're going to go do this thing. Joshua, take the armies and go across into Jordan and conquer the promised land. So before you start planning that mission, you put out a warning order so that your people know what's coming up and they can start preparing while you're working on the plan, the grand master plan. They're not just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And so what we have coming up right now is a warning order that Joshua issues to the officers of the army of Israel. I like it in the King James better. Verse 11, pass through and command the people, saying, prepare you victuals. Now there's a word we don't use in English very much anymore. Victuals. I think Scripture says food, right? Which is what it is. Prepare you, let's read it and then go back. Prepare you victuals, for within 3 days ye shall pass over this Jordan to go in and possess the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you to possess it. All right, so we're getting ready to attack in 3 days. Prepare your victuals. Prepare your food. Think about that. They have to make food that they can eat on the march, that they can eat hastily. We're not going to be stopping 3 times a day to sit down, build a fire, cook up some bread, make some goat stew, and all that stuff. Get your stuff together now. At whatever they did. It would be an interesting study to see what was kind of like army food back at this time amongst people. Probably jerky and bread and stuff like that they could eat while they were going. But you got 3 days before we move, so get your food ready. Here's the other thing. In a warning order, you always give your people the earliest time to move. It's just like, hey, get ready. The earliest we're going to move is, in this case, 3 days from now. So you have at least 3 days to get ready for what's coming. Prepare your victuals, for within 3 days, that's the earliest time to move, that's in a warning order, you shall pass over this Jordan. There's another thing we put out in the military, and to some degree businesses do this too. It's called commander's intent. And what we try to do is we don't just say, we're going over the Jordan. Everybody get ready, get your food ready, we're going to cross over the Jordan. You have to tell them why. Why are we crossing over the Jordan, and what is the higher plan? And that gives people flexibility and it lets them work their own initiative towards the greater goal. And here he gives it. To possess the land, what land? That Yahweh your Elohim, the Lord your God, gives you to possess it. This is ordained of Yah that we're taking this land. We're going in to get it. But it's not going to be easy, and so they've got to get ready. Now, in a warning order, if you already have what's called subordinate unit instructions, like if I already know I want the engineers to get ready to build a bridge across the Jordan, in this case that's not necessary, but in a military context today, you would say, hey, you guys need to get ready to build a bridge across the river. I'll give you more details when I plan it. That's subunit instructions. That's happening here. Look at this, verse 12. And to the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half of the tribe of Manasseh spake Joshua, saying, so that's only 3 of the 12 tribes. Remember the word which Moshe, servant of Yahweh, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God has given you rest and has given you this land. I'm just going to read and then we're going to come back. Your wives, your little ones, and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moshe gave you on this side of the Jordan. But you shall pass before your brethren armed, it says in King James, we're going to get into that, all the mighty men of valor, and help them. So, this is kind of interesting. These 3 tribes have land already allocated to them, basically where they're standing, on the east side of Jordan. They're here, they occupy it, it's here. That's their land, but most of Israel's land is on the other side of this river. And so they've got to go help. Now, in my Bible, it says go across armed. What else do you guys have? Go in 5s. That's exactly right. So in 5s, we're not just going across in a gaggle, we're going across in 5s. Again, military stuff just jumps out at people who are in the military. We're going across in fire teams. That's what you call 5-man elements, fire team. And so I'm not getting into the tactics of 5 guys. But they're going across. That's why you read armed in King James and by 5s. It actually is by 5s. But what it means is, because the average person who read it by 5s would just think it was just a happy parade. Well, why would they march 5 abreast? It's not. They're going across by fire teams. They're going across in a military order, because as soon as they get across that river, they could come into contact with the enemy. And so it's like prepare for battle. That's how you're going. And go help them. You're going to go help the people. Now, they have their land. I got mine. Good luck with you guys going to get yours. We got our land here on Shofar Mountain. I know you guys, the Father said you can have that land over there. Good luck, fellas. Let me know how it turns out. No. Joshua needs them to help conquer the rest of the land that they're going after. Without those 3 tribes, they might not have enough people to face what's coming up. And so even though they have their land, Joshua says, hey, I need you guys to help. And in fact, all of Israel needs them. And think about that. If they had stayed back and the rest of Israel had crossed that river and gotten into fights and lost, for the one of a nail the shoe was lost, because they didn't have enough people, the people they lose to are going to come back across that river and take out the 3 that thought they had it made. Right? So we have to all stick together to make this thing work. That's concentration, economy of force. It's all those concepts. And so Joshua needs them. Israel needs them. It would be easy. This is your land. Oh yeah, but we got to go help our brothers conquer their land. It would be easy to sit back in the camp on this side of the Jordan, start growing your garden, digging your roots in and building buildings and stuff like that. But no, they got to go fight. They have to support the greater good of the tribes of Israel. So, not only, Joshua tells them, do I need you guys to help me in these battles that are coming. Leave your wives and children and all your stuff here. You can come back when we win. But oh, by the way, you guys are going first. Right? You guys are leading the way into battle. Who do you think takes the brunt of the enemy force when you're in battle? The people in the front, the middle, or the back?
The front.
The people in the front. They're the ones that are moving the contact that they're doing right here. And so they're not only you have your land, and you want to stay and be fat, dumb, and happy, but no, you're gonna lead the way. So it reminds me of something Yeshua said, because they already have their land. Nobody else has their land, right? These 3 tribes have their land on this side of the Jordan. Everybody else still has to go get it. So what Yeshua said is, for unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall much be required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So it's like, yeah, you're blessed with land already. You guys have it. I need something from you because of that. It's the way of things. It's the way of the world. Not the world, but the way things work with the Father. If you're blessed with a lot, he's going to expect more of you. If you have a lot, you're going to be asked for more. It never ends. It's not like, oh, I just want to sit here and do my own thing. That part that I just read from Luke chapter 12, that's good homework to go back and read that chapter, because it's all about being prepared, being ready. If you knew what hour the bad guy was going to break in, you'd be watching and that wouldn't happen. All right. So you guys stay on, your stuff can stay here, but you're coming across. Help them. Verse 15, until Yahweh has given your brethren rest, as he has given you, and they shall also have possessed the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives them, then you shall return unto the land of your possession and enjoy it, which Moshe, Yahweh's servant, gave you on this side of the Jordan towards sunrising, on the east. All right, so they answer Joshua, and they say, now this is the officers, remember, it's not all of Israel, he's talking to the leadership. They answered Joshua, saying, all that you command us we will do, and whithersoever you send us, we will go. We'll do what you want us to do. We'll go where you want us to go. Whatever you say, we're going to do it. And so that's an agreement with Joshua, but more than an agreement, it's a vow. Right? They're making a promise. Everything you say to do, we're going to do. Everywhere you tell us to go, we're going to go. It's a vow of complete loyalty to Joshua, who probably needs it at this point, because Moses is a tough act to follow, and it's fixing to get real in a different way. The first 40 years, they had some battles and stuff, but it was mostly dealing with internal whining and strife and people not wanting to make it. Now they're getting ready to go into a new phase, which, oh, by the way, is why Joshua is put in charge. And he's probably feeling, I could use some help right now, and so the people are saying, we're with you. Verse 17. Wherever you tell us, wherever you send us, we'll go. According as we hearken unto Moshe, in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. So whatever, just like we did with Moses, we're going to give you our loyalty too. Look at this part. Only Yahweh the Elohim be with thee as he was with Moshe. That's a prayer. They're saying, we're with you, we're following you, you're our leader, and may Yahweh Elohim be with you just like he was with Moshe. That's pretty cool. If you think about it from a leader perspective, your people are saying, we're following you, and may the Lord bless you while we do it. So I think that's good of the people. Now, look at this, 18. Whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto thy words in all that thou commandest him, he shall be put to death. Only be strong and of good courage. They're saying, hey, not only are we promising to follow you, not only are we asking the Lord's blessings upon you, let me tell you something. We're going to enforce what you tell us to do. Our people are going to follow what you're telling us. Because there's a lot of people behind these officers that they've got to go back and talk to. And they said, look, we're going to enforce your commands with our people. And then they end it with, be strong and good courage. We're with you, Joshua. Ready, break. And then we go into chapter 2, which I really like in Joshua, but we're going to do that later. The thing here, what we're looking at here, I think, the key points from today's short sermon is that this is becoming a military-type organization and a military-type operation going into the Promised Land, and that's something a lot of people don't think about. All they think about is the land flowing with milk and honey, and that's what it's going to be. There were people who made big sacrifices for the whole. Those tribes that already had their land and were thinking, I'm going to put the grape vineyard right there, and we're going to put the goats out here, we got to clear a little bit of this out. No, they got to go fight first with all the rest of their brethren. But in it all, they trust in the Father, and they wish his blessings upon each other and upon their leadership, and that's a good thing. we can learn from that. Let's pray.